Okay, Gary, stop hiding.
Yeah.
Stop running away.
Yeah, I'm here now. Just tuck that away. Right. I'll do. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see the layout. Can you see that? That's yeah. So this is it's a home layout. It's never intended to go anywhere, and it certainly can't. Although the main bit is a sort of a towel chaser, which has been extended. I mean, let me just come back to the door. It's not really based on anywhere in particular. It started off as sort of present day layouts. I do a lot of work with Chiltern Railways on depots and stations. I've been involved in station design. So one of the things I got involved in a lot was with Aylesbury. So what I wanted to do was to have a shed that was based very loosely on Aylesbury. And that really sort of sprung the idea for the layout out. And so it started off really as I said, towel chaser with a sort of depot at the side, and then it went across a high level. I think this one's it raised up, and then across to hide the end of the layout onto a higher level. And top of that, there's another station. It's got a freight yard with a Heljan crane. But originally, it stopped. And actually, the end of the layout stopped here originally. So it's because this was in the garage. It's now been converted. We put a window and heating plumbed into the house heating system. So it's always a constant temperature, same as the house, really. But the idea was to try and hide the fact that it was just a round layout. And then I sort of started experimenting more, and decided to extend the layout out. And there was a set of 3 sidings that were originally at the back of the shed. So then I've got a little flap here, and this is interlocked. So that little lever there, the trains will operate as soon as I open it, it stops, so you can't drive off the end. So I'll take out the buffer stop, and then there is a door, a flap. If I can just get this right, as a flap comes down over the door, clinks in, and as soon as that's in again, there's another. Once that's down, there's another set of switches underneath to make the connection, and then it goes round from here, and then really the bit from here on inwards is, to an extent, is removable. It was never intended to be a layout. I added the cupboard in here, added the station on the top onto here, and it goes into the end. I can get a shot really. No, it's got a photograph at the end from Marylebone Station, which is also the roof of Marylebone Station here. And then it was on top of the workbench. So actually here, I actually have my voice. You've always got to have a voice.
Brilliant.
Very clever. Very clever.
So this building is modelled a little bit on a block of flats I used to live in as a child, but it was an odd shape to start with, but now it hides the vice. The layout's not really set on anywhere. The names are really from my childhood and family members and things like that. It's more so we don't tend to run too much prototypical. It just tends to run. I try to get the detail as accurate as much as possible, because working on the railway, I see a lot of stuff, and I want to try and replicate that. So I've got a few scratch-built stuff as well as resin models. I've got a little hut here, little shit with all the detail inside. Little mess up, which I've just pulled the wires out.
Yeah, be careful, Gary.
Yeah, that didn't go too well, really, all in all. That might have to stay at a jaunty angle at the moment, so I won't know how to put it back properly.
I'm afraid I can't take any responsibility for that, Gary. There's no insurance at this show.
I say, is there nothing to claim?
I'm sure I heard Paul say, "What's in the hut, Gary?"
No.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Guy. I'm sure I heard that.
Yeah.
Right, I'll be cutting you off then.
Yeah. I'll put it back later. So this was on the workbench. So of course I lost my workbench. The back scene here, by the way, is Cardiff, because it was the only thing I could find. Although the Millennium Stadium's been taken out because obviously it was too loose. So it's been doctored a bit. There's a few hidden sidings. There's a siding underneath here, splits out into two, and there's hidden sidings underneath the main board. And there's actually a CCTV system linked in, so you can actually view different parts of the layout that you can't always see. So this was my workbench. So if I still want to work on the workbench, I can literally drop down the top, and I've got a flat surface to work on again. And you can actually run trains underneath it. So often there's junk and stuff on top of here. And then it goes around. It got extended. So yeah, it got extended from here. And there was a difference of level, so you got a slight gradient coming up because I never intended to come over to this height. Then it got extended with more stable sidings, but that's all part of the layout now. There's another Helljan crane here, so you can basically load from one side, drive around and unload from the other side. So there's there's two Nightwing fuel points here that have been joined together. The fuel tank here. Again, this section was meant to sort of be demountable, so the fuel tank actually comes out and it joins over the edge of the board. It's a piece of large drain pipe. That's not going to go back. That looks like another insurance claim. No, you're okay, Paul. I got that one back.
Okay, thank you.
So that one's back, and it's got the sort of
Destroyer Wade.
it's got the fuel pumps and cabinets and things. I think, again, I just took photographs of those from Aylesbury and just printed them on top of bits of card. And it's got the fuel pipe linking underneath and back up to the fuel point, and then it goes around into a replica, sort of a homage, I suppose, really, to the RTC at Derby. So the buildings were there to replicate that. And all of this lot from here onwards actually can all be lifted out. It's not really, it's not a portable layout, but there was other things underneath, so it was always intended I could lift the stuff up out of the way. And it's been extended continually, really, and there's nowhere else to go unless I go through that wall, and that goes outside to the front. So that's not going to happen. So that's a scratch-built shed from plastic. It's based actually quite loosely on a Bachmann model, which is based on. I did actually find a photograph of the real shed as well. So that's sort of underway, and that's a Nightwing fuel kit, fuel point, fuel tank there, with some unloading points for the tankers, and that backs onto the main layout. And there's hidden sidings which are underneath here. So I think probably we ought to try and run some trains. I've got a few other bits. I've got the totem from High Wycombe. When we developed the station, I got permission to acquire that. So I have that legally, and a few other signals I've changed in the past, and other signs I've taken down. That's a few bits of railway memorabilia. I've got a few display cabinets from it's the Picture Pride displays, and they're very good.
Yeah,
actually very good cabinets. So there's some Chiltern stock, and I got involved with the Wrexham and Shropshire as well when we had to refuel those up at in Wales. I can't think where it was now, Wrexham. So we had to set up some fuel points and stuff for them. The latest edition, I'm afraid, is the new Hornby Stevenson rocket, and there's the original one that I bought from America. But in addition to the cabinets, I've got a few. I've got 4 of those cabinets. I've also got these. These are German. They're a system called Train. I can't see it. Train Safe Vision. They have rails in them, and you can actually drive the trains in and out the tubes. The end of the tube comes up, it comes out, so you can drive it out. But to actually to do that, I utilise this bit of track here. I bring the flap up out the way. I have on this door, I have a pop-out shelf that will support the other, shelf that comes off the door to support the end of the tube. And then at this end, I have a bracket that connects in, an adapter really, because that clips in to make the micro switch. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. And then it plugs in. So it plugs in underneath to here, and you can set the train safe. You can set the train safe on top of here, and then you can drive in and out the train safe, which is it's not a cheap system, but it's a good way of displaying complete sets. And it means you can just drive them without dismantling them. And again, it's a dust-free system. So it seems to work very well. Let's bring this flap down again. So we'll run some trains, shall we? Oh, what I have got, I did laminate my my badge pull for extra bonus points.
You will get extra bonus points.
I thought I might.
We forget insurance issues.
Yeah, we'll wipe those off. Yeah. So let's have a look. What I've got on, it's a DC layout. It actually has 1, 2, 3, 4. There's five controllers. They're all come out. They're all the walkabout controller on lead. But normally they just sit in a holder so you can operate them. So you can operate the two loops on their own. They will just operate all the time. You can then operate, and you can run off the outside into the siding here, and you can run on those across the bridge and into the station, all with the same controller. Alternatively, there's another controller here with a switch, and you can control. So you can actually operate this section around here on its own when the main line is still running. The top level is from here goes around as its own controller. So again, you can operate all of this with the main line running. So that is one power district. And then from the RTC and the engineer's yard and the rest of that again is another power system, power district. Yeah, so that's the sort of layout. So let's try. I thought I would. You sometimes need to use the hand of God, so I'll have to hold this in place. But actually, let's get the right controller. And I thought I would just bring the bruff out for a bit of a run around. Oh, sorry, control panels. Yeah. One of the problems with the layout is I can't reach the back. So I wanted to be able to have a reasonable radius and not include a first radius curve. Although the middle section here on the incline is first radius, and you can get away with that because it's only a short section. And if you provide a transition, which you would normally do because I do get involved with track alignment anyway on depots, you put a transition. So transition is a constantly varying curve. So you actually gently blend into a tight curve, and then you can blend it out again. So it comes in. So I'm trying to get this way. It comes into here, blends in, it tightens up, and then opens back up again. So there's a bit of first radius in there, but you can get up on that. It's a 4% gradient, which is about as steep as you want to be, because you need to get the height up to here to get underneath. Now, the whole of this top section round as far as there is on a one-piece board, and that will lift off. It's big. All the buildings come off, and it's got wires underneath because it's got the set of level crossing gates. Those are all the motors for that are mounted underneath. So those are actually interlinked. The signalling all works. There's a signal in a 2-aspect signal here, and just cancel that because it's annoying. So you'll only get a red aspect unless the gates are down. So what else have we got? So we've got some gantry signals here which is a scratch built from brass with a feather on it, and then the signals are controlled using the Heathcote's electronics control boards, and they're I find them very good because they do sequence properly. I'm going to take a bit of a risk. I'll run the brush round. He'll disappear out of sight, and let's hope he comes back out again, because it's not easy to get back underneath. It is possible. There are slots at the back to reach things if they go wrong. I haven't yet got all the signals round completed. Here comes the brush round. So that was so I'm very pleased with that. So not having seen a brush on any other layout, I'll move in with the hand of God, because it might be a bit more temperamental to run him. Let's see about bringing a train out from station, and we run around. Let's bring out the 33. I'll switch on, so I've got the other. Have I done? Oh yeah, I've got the setting points. It's normally it's operated. You normally have 2 operators on the layout. It gets quite complicated to run it with all the controls, but and especially holding the cameras. It's not something I've done before. So yeah, normally 2 adults or myself and the grandchildren, and that's when it gets really busy. They do have their own trains, sort of Thomas the Tank Engine range, which they'll use. And there is the buildings are a mixture of Bachmann and Hornby resin buildings. There's a few scratch buildings. Actually, there's some these buildings here are actually some Hornby kits that they used to sell for a few years ago. This is a scratch built warehouse on this side, which has interior. And it does have somewhere, I don't know if you see it, it does have a Playboy calendar on the wall. The layout is set in around the 90s, and the calendar I managed to get off the internet, not my personal collection. I managed to get hold of a Playboy magazine from April 1992, so I use that picture on the calendar. April being my birthday, so that was the logic behind that. The name of the layout, Longnaughton, is my name, Gary Long, and Norton, which was my mother's maiden name. So that gets used on that. On the station over here, we've got this gets as Reading Central. Reading is my eldest grandson, so he's Reading, so that's named after him. And Reading Junction is a signal box in there. See if we can run something else. Let's get a few. Let's stop in for a minute, because it's DCC. Next it's DC. We'll need to switch over to the inside. This is where it needs a bit of thinking about. And we're going to come out. Yeah, sorry, control panels. I was going there. So there's little control panels. Because the whole thing comes forward, you can't have one big control panel because of the space limitations. So you've basically got main control panel here that controls the main circular loop. This one here deals with the hidden sidings that are underneath here. This control panel here deals with the upper level and where the two shunters are sat over there. And the shunters need to sit there because the 4% grade, sometimes long trains need a bit of a help, so they get used a bit. There's another control panel under here that controls this end of the station. But some of these have got, it's not quite finished, you can see there's still some gaps. Some of these, these lights here, but there's no control because they're controlled from this control panel here. And so it's based now, the control panels, on where you're operating the, because you've got another controller here next to the Helljan crane. So let's see what we can get. That's what we're going to do. I think we're going to come out there. Yeah, let's bring the parcel stop. He's going to be changing over. We actually see him, so you probably see it better on the video. So he's changed over onto the it's gone from the outside into the inside. So although he's come across the he's come across the, stopping for a minute, this is just not being able to do more than one thing at a time. He's crossed over onto the outside, onto the inside lane with different controllers, but because this is, I can isolate this section and I can isolate a section here. There's not many isolation sections because with DC you can run more than one loco, even more than one train. And it's big enough, the layout, that you can get different trains being powered on the same line. So let's set this up so that we can go. We've got cobalt motors on the outside on that, so that should go there. Let's just set this controller. It's going to go into there. Yeah, so hopefully now I can bring him out from there. We should then head on to the top section. There is a re-railer section hidden behind here, which you do occasionally get some things fall off. Like that. And he's just sped the signal because of the crossing wasn't down, so he'd come through the red signal. And there is an off switch on the siren because it is so annoying. Let's isolate that. Turn that off. The crossing often gets left down. Don't have a bus on a bridge, but there is a bus here that does, in effect, come over the. In effect, I suppose it's the train. The tracks go underneath there, so it's almost a bus on a bridge, but there's no real bridges other than the footbridge that was scratch built from brass, and again that's based on Aylesbury station. Let's see where we are. So we've got. Let's get some more trains running. Yep, so, sorry. I keep forgetting to look at the camera, see what you're seeing. I'll run him. Let's bring let's come out of the siding. Some of the point motors are Pico. There is a, there's one uncoupler here. There's also an electronic uncoupler under here somewhere that has a bit of a mind of its own, and somewhere it gets feedback, and sometimes you use the uncoupler and the level crossing gates will go down and come back up, but there's a bit of feedback on that somewhere. So what I was going to try and leave those two running, and I was going to show you the Helljan crane. So what I've done with that, I have, hopefully, I'm hoping I can actually prop this up. I have an old jam jar with a, hoping to put the camera, because it's a bit The crane is, it's going to be a bit wonky, I'm afraid. That's not going to stay. I don't know, I'm going to have to hold it a bit. But basically, the crane will go, you can put the lights, you've got spotlights and general lights on the crane. You can try to use several hands here. With the magnet on. That's a bit, oops. This isn't, trying to prop this up really. Okay. It's this walk and talking thing, I'm just not very good at it.
None of us are.
It's not prop it up. I'll have to try and do it. And there's a pocket wagon under there, which is the best, one of the easier ones to move the load underneath. I'm going to have to give up with that idea. I'll have to just hold the camera. Bear with me a moment. It's not really designed to. Yeah, let's look underneath and see. I'm just going to catch on. I'm using my wrong hand here, so I apologise for this. It's not the easiest of things to manoeuvre around. Hopefully that will. It might need to be a bit. Might need a bit of a hand of God in there somewhere. Sounds like a Dalek actually when you do that. Could be a Dalek at the moment. I'm having a quick look underneath. I've got the controller, so I'm going to have to stop this out. Some of this train. Let me bring the. Trying to bring the controller up. I can do that.
Gary, I bet you practiced all morning to unload.
No, I haven't. I haven't. I wish I had. If I hadn't done, I wouldn't have done it. I'd have just there's the crane and it works.
Fair point.
I did try some of the running, but
Yes, yeah, of course.
and I've got the controller facing the wrong way. It's because the crane is actually DCC and it sits
Yeah.
on top, but it's just try and. I might have to cheat. It will. It's a bit of a dodgy loading, but actually, well, that's the printer. I can't hold the camera see on the top. But basically, that's the controllers are here, so you can actually load you can take a container from the lorries on here, and they have little. These have got little screws in them, but they by default they come with a little, because it's HO gauge, but these are O gauge, double O gauge containers, and they just have. You can just see there's a little metal strip inside with two metal pins. So there's an electromagnet in the underside here. Turn the magnet on, you get a green light, so you know the magnet's on. So you can actually you can move the crane around. So you can take the load off of the lorries or onto and load them onto a container. The other thing you've got is I found these are actually metallic. These are metal pipes. So you sometimes use that for loading just open wagons really. So you can actually pick that up with a crane as well as you can a container. But the idea is you can come from here, take it around the layout. Let's have one back on. You go around from here, come around the layout, and then you can come over to crane here, and then you can then unload and these tend to unload just onto the ground really, because there's not enough. Although there are a couple of wagons on this side actually, yeah. So you can just about reach into those. And again, that crane, this one's got the container next to the container. And that's exactly the same. Just as difficult to use, but it does work if you press the right button. That one hasn't been cleaned, so it's still got a dead spot. So you can actually you can load a train and take it around the layout and then unload it at the other end, which again just adds a bit of interest. Unfortunately, I never bought the cranes when they were available, and Hattons were selling them off dirt cheap. I bought them off eBay for quite a bit of money. I've actually got 3 because you can't get spares. So I had a problem with one bit, and I bought one that wasn't working very well, and I could take bits from one and add it onto another. It's a very clever bit of kit, but no one's ever going to make it again because there's too much work going on in it. So we've got a couple of trains running on here. So we come out from the station. We'll bring I've got a Tesco Iris, which I can bring out. So it's set up to come. So I've still got the other 2 running, and I'll have to get ahead of this, I'm afraid, because I need to control it from this end as well. So I've got a controller here. I'll take control of it when it comes up to here. So I'll switch over. It comes across an isolation joint here. There, sorry, there. It should go. Oh God, for some reason, something's set wrong. That's what's set wrong. Let's just have a look. Into there, into there. It should be going. Oh, set of points. So now, yeah, Iris will now carry on. I'm just stopping around here. So what I will need to do is actually stop both trains, because I'll need to cross over, and I'm going to take him up into the top yard over there. So we'll stop, going across the up main. People may or may not notice the trains run the wrong way around the layout. That was deliberate before I knew better. And the idea for that was I was very worried about having facing points. So because to get into the depot, you've got to come this way in. So let's put in the outer lane in this direction when it should be the other way. And it's the same with under here. There's a set of points under here that goes into the main hidden siding, which goes around that way. Again, it's because of they're working as trailing points, it's the wrong way. But in reality, most of the time, the depot works in bi-directional mode anyway. So that's not really a problem. So it's that. Let's do that. I set this. I should be able to set this up, keeping everything crossed. Let's. While we're doing that, let's just make a space for him up here. Let's just come out. Let's just move the DMU into the platform. I could have actually left the. I could have left the 2 main lines going while I was doing this, but that's going to go in there. Put it into there. Just turn it off because it's annoying, and the residents don't like the barriers being left down, which often happens. So where's he going to? He's going to go into there, to there. So let's set that, and you're on the right. Set that. Got all the controllers set. It should hopefully it switches over. It should now make its way automatically, and I can move that, which should cross over direction. So it's now go into the room, come up onto here. In actual fact, my camera, let's make it come round. Step the outer main can make its way. This is when I try and get clever and it goes horribly wrong, but we'll see. I told you to go wrong. Got a set of points.
We all do that. Don't worry, Gary.
So yeah, just to show it's not rehearsed too much.
It's the Mr. Wide effect.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I apologise.
That's fine. I've got the camera actually on a selfie stick, just as a way of holding it, because it's just much easier to do that than trying to hold it. Oops, done it again. It's bad. The driving is shocking today. All right, so we'll put that into the siding here. And what we do, we bring the D&U down into the other platform in the station. And just set the points. When it comes down, basically, to get into this siding here, I use the down main controller, and I have this set of points open, so it's powering through the toe of the points, and the power's going that way. So although there's only a couple of isolation sections, the points themselves give you isolation. So under DC control, you can have trains sitting around at the place without affecting each other. Now let's drive this out. Turn that off because it is annoying. I actually turn the speaker off because it's very annoying. The slight problem I get coming down the slope is it hunts a bit because of the gradient. It is a problem with certain trains. That they won't run very smooth down the slope. That's just one of the things you have to accept. And switch the points around. I've got that one there, and then bring this on it, and then we'll bring the other train out, and then we'll bring the train in. Stopping at the station. The length of the station is limited, as you can see. You can just get a relatively short 125. So I tend to run them with three coaches in the set. I've got enough to make about 3 sets of 4 cars, but they don't really fit onto the platform. So again, we've got the proceed signal with the signalling system. It's based on first rule replacement. So as soon as a train goes past, it goes to red, and then it will go through the sequence. So you have a thing called a mass sequencer that controls all the signals on each line, and they will go through. And it's gone to yellow now. It'll just go to green before the train comes back again and switch it to red. But the other thing is they have reversing modules as well. So if I let that bring that train a bit slower, so I'll let the signal come past the other signals. So you see it's gone to yellow and green. If I now reverse the polarity of power to the other direction, as soon as I do it, so you've got to reverse move, the signal goes to red. So it's in effect trying to prevent opposing moves. But that's just a module as part of the Heathcote's system. This is the depot, which really sort of sprung it all off, really. The roof is aluminium sheet. It's been cut out with fans and purlins and things stuck underneath. And the main body of it is made out of, I think, 3 or 4 millimeter plywood. And then it's got various details. It's got pipe work and fuel point stores. It's got the right sort of bracing at the ends. It should have roof bracing as well. It's got fuel stands. A set of jacks that have been slightly modified to sort of replicate the units of ours. So it's got the Backman jacks, but it's had the wiring harness and switches and stuff added to it. And then I'm looking for the shed. There's a camera actually just inside here. So I'll go back to the CCTV screen here. So let that run around, you can see the cameras. So that's inside the shed. We've got that is looking over here onto the RTC, looking down on the RTC. That's the set of sidings that are behind me that's come off the other sidings. This is the underneath of the main lines. So they go underneath the top section, and you've got the other way. So you can see there's 2 hidden sidings in there as well. Camera's useful for when something derails and you can't find something. This is probably the best one to see all the time, as you get the trains running at the back. And the signal there's got the feather on it, so if you go back into the heading back towards the depot, the feather will illuminate as it goes up. I think that's about it, really. Era-wise, so it started off really as originally in sort of Chiltern Railways with the 168, so I have a big pile of those in a box upstairs. But then I found that like real current operations were quite boring, really, and so I sort of moved it over to the 90s. So you get sectorisation, you get Network South East, you get the Railway Technical Centre where everything isn't just yellow, and you still get early containers, and you still get old parcels and other things like that. Yeah. So, any questions or?
Gary, I'm not sure everyone realised that the wall pulls forward.
Oh, right, yes.
I know it's on your video, but I'm not sure everyone knew that.
Yeah, let me show that on the layout. Let's just do that. You can actually do it when it's operating. What I might do is
Don't make a mistake.
Yeah, I'll probably stop the trains when I do it. I can actually use the visor, hopefully, if I can see behind the camera. That might be I should have done this with the yeah. So to get to the back, you want to like that. You can see. Yeah, let's stop the trains.
Definitely.
Yes, so basically there's a set of handles along the front. I'm not sure you can see because I can't see the camera. So you can basically pull it out. There's a stop that comes out. It's on rollers. Like so. And then you go underneath. And you come up here.
That's brilliant.
So you can access new scenery, and when things fall off, you can work on that. I'll get there. I'll take the camera underneath. Just a different idea of how you. Yeah, danger, no unauthorised access. It's only just a tool cupboard. Any significance? Yeah, so you have a set of rollers, and they're basically fixed casters on there, and then there's this aluminium section underneath the framework, bolted into that, and the whole thing just slides backwards and forwards on the rollers. It does mean that the wiring has to all be contained in conduit and everything else, because obviously everything's moving. And at the far end under here, actually I can probably get there. There is the DVD recorder for the CCTV. It did have an incident a few months back when left trains running, went and got some pizza when it arrived, and the trains all went very silent. There was a big crash in the station, and using the data recorder, I was able to go back on the video and see what went wrong. So a bit of railway investigation there.
That's very clever.
Yeah, it's just you buy a cheap CCTV system off of eBay, and I think I've got about eight cameras, I think, on there, which is fun.
Yeah, I think Clive would probably be interested in those.
Yeah,
I certainly would.
Yeah, Fraser as well.
That camera there in particular.
yeah, that's what the main one, the big screen.
That's a small one.
Yeah, it is. It's the same. It's the same size. Some of the cameras actually have got night vision as well. The ones underneath. Well, I go back to the. I've got a little mouse to here to operate it. If I go, I can go just. Yeah. So that camera's got night vision because it's in the dark. If I was to put a light in the end of that, it would all light up. But then you've got other cameras. They've also got night vision. And that one's got night vision, I think. So if I turn the lights off on here, I'm just trying. That one, I'm going to turn the lights off. No, it's not dark enough yet. We've got too many lights. Daylight, that's a daylight in as well. It'll go grey when it goes on to the night vision. Still, oh, there it goes. Yeah. So it's got a night vision. It's just a camera with infrared around the outside.
How big are they, Gary?
They vary. The camera themselves are very small, but some of them have bigger housings. The cameras, these ones here, you see those, I've got a couple of those up here, and they're about 3 inches, 2.5 inches in diameter, 2.5 to 3 inches. The ones that are on, there's 2 cameras that are underneath. I don't know if I can see them. No, you can't really see them. There's a camera just in that grey box in there. That's quite a large one, but it came with the system. This is a cheaper camera that I got. It's got no night vision. It's just a sort of finger size. But the smaller ones, there's another one underneath this, behind here. There's another hidden camera. There's lights in there, so it's not night vision. But the little ones, so there's one in the shed, and they're about 1/2 inch. The middle of the camera is the middle of that grey box. I really can't zoom in on it. Can I zoom in? I don't know if you can see that camera there.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
The round bit in the middle is the camera, and it's probably about 8mm in diameter. The bit on the back is the printed circuit board, which is bigger than the camera. And that's what you've actually got. See if I can get this.
That's like an N-gauge camera, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't think we used that word, Paul. There's a little camera here. There's a camera.
Oh, you got what? That's the one.
That's the one there.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So he just sits in the bush. Like a tunnel.
I probably need something like that to see. Look at my fiddle yard.
Yeah. And that one's, which I think is the best. To be honest, the best one is the depot's quite nice, but you don't see a lot going on in there really. These are useful for finding trains. This one going around underneath. Bit of night vision is reflecting. But that's the best one. The little grey patch you can't really see in front of the the signal is the signal post telephone. There's a little railing there as well, but you can't really see it. The camera, it's not the sharpest of cameras, but it does, you know.
Does what it needs to do, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah. But normally it runs, I normally run it with that one as being the big one, because sometimes you just sit and watch the trains go around on that, because when you get opposing moves, not opposing moves, but you get trains in each direction, it can be quite interesting to see them. And then if something goes wrong, you've got the other cameras, the other views around the outside, and you can view those. So if something
Gary,
yes,
what's the overall dimensions of the room?
right, it's 5 meters by 2.4, because obviously it was a garage.
Right.
That's metric, Fraser.
Sorry?
That's metric, if you don't know.
Yeah.
I always work in metric, Mr. White.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I actually I've got a track plan here. I printed out because I got the names of the bits, so it's on there. So
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and then we just got a name for Berry Vale, which is some concoction between Banbury and Aylesbury Vale, and something just to give the depot name. But I say most things are really based around things that are either from my child, you know, where I grew up, or relatives, you know, so things are named after that. So it's not, there's nowhere particular. I mean, anything really that's actually modern of real location is the depot. The shed is a much shorter version of Aylesbury shed, which is actually 3 roads wide, and we added a wheel lathe on the back of it a few years ago. But the accommodation block is similar. Again, that was much longer, but that one's, it's just a compromise of space, really.
Isn't the research centre got some realism in it?
Sorry, say that again.
The research centre you've got.
Yes, yeah, I'll go to
That's
that.
drawn on things, isn't it?
Yeah, that was. I was lucky to go there a few years ago for to Wangler a visit for something. So I built a couple of the buildings here onto that, and the canopy out front. I think it's Derwent House, I think. And there's some little workshops. So again, I've just made a small version to replicate that.
Yeah.
I've got the RTC sign here. There's out in front. The back scene's obviously not right, but it's just something. I mean, so at the back of it, I've got, you can get into the shed. It's a Hornby. It's the Hornby shed, you know, the loco shed, just the sort of kit built one that's been cut to fit in around. And then on this side, turn the camera. Oops, I'll just turn the camera off. Bugger. So you lost. I don't. Oh dear. Lock my camera. Hold on, I've locked my phone. Right, I'm back. Yeah, yeah. So these are sections of the external wall of the Hornby shed, and then in the back of it, behind the windows, are a series of photographs I took inside Wembley Depot. I was involved for the design and building of Wembley Depot for Chiltern Railways. So the interior shots that you can see through the window are actually at what you see inside Wembley. So it's got a bit of detail really on that, and just sort of then your typical ID back scenes. Most of the back scenes are the ID back scenes here.
Yeah, look good.
This little bit here where the crane is, it's got a vertical split because this section lifts out, because behind here is the gas electric meters. So you have to open that out to get your meter read. So the back top that lifts off. So this was a picture of Cardiff I found on the internet. It's been a bit doctored around here. So it's had the Millennium Stadium removed. And then this was some images I got from somewhere that's pasted over the back of another ID back scene. I said, and then actually back here you've got the roof line of Marylebone. I've taken it from the front and turned it around at the back. And then underneath you've actually got the inside, the concourse at the back there from Marylebone as well.
Yes.
So it just gives a bit of detail really. And then the ID back scene just goes around over the door. And then again, it's just there. really.
Amazing.
The big thing I do regret is not. Well, I got the. When I started building the layout, what I didn't do was line the. Didn't finish the walls, so you've still got the blockwork. The blockwork walls, really. But on this side, I've managed to overlay it with a white-faced hardboard just to make it look a bit better. Oh yeah, there's a redundant stock board that we had left over from Wembley Depot. That was, we had extended the sidings for a while. But I got, when I had the garage doors taken out and put the blind in, the window in, and I got this insulator as well, and a ceiling put up on the top of here, because this bit sticks out the front of the building. One of the bedrooms with my office is above here. So it's quite well insulated, and the sun starts in the house in the morning and comes around the back, so it never gets too hot. So yeah, it's an ideal use for a garage. But I always wish it was bigger, but then I'm sure we all wish we had more space.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Any other questions, gents?
Very interesting.
The other good news, of course, is the door leads straight to the kitchen. So you know, when you want tea, you're away. So that's a bonus.
That's definitely a bonus.
Yeah.
Gary, who were the PCVs by on the parcel train?
They are the what do you call them?
Replica?
Yeah, replica. Now they can't make them anymore. They can't. They've cut the moulds up. So yeah, I've got 4 of them actually. I bought from. Funny enough, I bought 2 from a guy who lives around the corner from me. I just turned up on eBay, but yeah, they've been weighted down a bit. But yeah, they cut. You can buy the cabs. They sell the cab, but they can never make the whole thing again because the mould, they chop the cab bit off and put something else on it, and they can't. I did talk to them whether they ever remake them, and no, they weren't. So eBay, I'm afraid, is the source for that. There's somebody had some brass etched sides at one stage, but they've never come back into stock.
That rings a bell, actually.
Sorry?
Hearst models.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any of those in that Smashers collection. That rings a bell.
Yeah. So yeah. So they're just the I think two of them came as kits, and 2 of them were ready built.
Oh, they look good.
The other thing I've got is stock. I've got quite a lot of stock. I built some cabinets here, so I've got 2 sets of drawers under the workbench where typically locos and DMUs on there. So they just come out, so you can store that. But also then you get things like coaching stock and other stuff. But then I store them on these, which are it's a plastic conduit cover that comes from Wix, and it's designed to cover heating pipes. So that's the clip that goes on the wall. Heating pipes click in that, and then the cover clips over the top. And you put the stock into that, and you can shuffle them around and take them out, which means you can actually put stuff away and take it out in sort of formations like that.
Clever.
Yeah, very neat.
And so I've got quite a lot of RTC stock. Unfortunately, I sort of came to the hobby a little bit late, and I missed most of the stuff that was done by Model Zone. So I've managed to get it by off of eBay generally, which isn't the cheapest in the world. I built some stock as well. I built the Cyclops, the optical car, and then Test Car 1. I've got a few others. Another wagon there that's part of the fleet. And I've got a few others.
Did you do the proper suspensions on that one, Gary?
No. Oh no, sorry. Yes, I did. Yes, I did those in 3D. Unfortunately, I did those using a plastic, the PLA printer. so they're not the best detail in the world, but the detail is there.
Yeah.
I've now got a resin printer, so it's much better quality. But I won't change what's there, because so the level of detail on the PLA, the plastic, is fairly limited as what you can do. It's got all the cables. It's got cables on the outside somewhere. Yeah, the yellow and black. Sorry. So it's got the cables running down, because it was mainly a store wagon, and it just had a connector to the end, and it ran with test car 1. Dave Bauer providing a lot of photographs. So I've modelled the interior on test car 1 with computers and printers and people and things.
I spent a lot of time inside that. I've got some photographs myself.
Oh yeah. Oh right.
Yeah.
So that one, and then so I've done test car 1, test car 10, which is it's coming out in the magazine, one of the DMU magazines, and also Prometheus, which was in the magazine as well. Yeah. So test car 10, there's an article on that in Update magazine.
Yeah.
And Prometheus has been in there as well. Funny enough, Prometheus was one of the first ones I started when I got the bits together for it. But it just got shelved for ages and ages and ages. And I've done, what else have I done? I mean, yeah, I actually put stuff up on Facebook, but I did the power car. I scratch built the pantograph on that, because pantographs are hard to get hold of. And the prototype.
It looks good.
APT, and that's got the white metal cast nose. That's actually the new Hornby chassis. But the casting was really designed for the Lima models, so it took a little bit of modification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I like to model the unusual things. So like the exhibition train.
Exhibition,
Backman brought out the
wagon they did. Yeah.
These 2. I scratch built that from a kit, and then that was just as a Mark 1 was just filled in and just done. So of course Backman did a limited edition with a rail freight.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I like to do the unusual things really, but the rest of the other stock is pretty much as it comes, so Hornby Backman stock. Got the week in a train. I've got 2 coaches. I've got another couple of coaches, and there's one of them was windows blanked out with a louver door and a roller shutter door, so I'm going to build that at one stage, and I want to build also the spray van. I've never got around to doing that. Will come later on. And the space at the top in this empty cabinet was bought for Dave Jones's APT that he didn't build, but that will take the Hornby APT when it comes out.
That's thinking ahead. Well done.
Well, I bought it for the one that
Yeah.
I bought it for the one that didn't happen, and lost my deposit to Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I paid it via the bank, not via PayPal or anything like that. So
You're not the only one, unfortunately.
no. But yeah, so I bought the cabinet. The cabinets, if you want a way of displaying trains that you can, I'm just going to cover my device up again. If you want a way of displaying trains that you can connect them onto the layout, I can highly recommend.
Yeah,
It comes as a complete. So I've got the camera in the way. It comes as a complete system. It's got a stainless steel brackets on the wall, similar to just the shelf brackets, the fixings, and then it has its own little brackets that hold the system. They do various types. Some of them are not powered; they're just a plain plastic with a slot in it. And you can actually, on some of them, because you can actually connect to the end. If you've got DCC, which is this, you could actually have that the train powering, have the lights on inside the cabinet, inside the box.
Clever.
If you wanted it. So.
Okay, Gary. Thank you very much. If ever there's any more questions.
Yeah. Anything else?
Carry on.
Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
No, I thought someone said something. No, thank you, Gary.
Right. But if you've got any questions, just stick say on Facebook or whatever. So
Very impressive construction and design, I must say.
yeah, thank you.
Very clever, clever techniques.
Yeah. So sorry, what you saw then was my dining room table, which is now my workbench during lockdown, because it just work out. It's more comfortable than being in the training room. So
That's the best way. That's the best way. Okay, John, you ready, John?
is it frozen? Or we all? I think I've lost. I think I've frozen slightly coming back in.
How long did it take you, Gary, to build that lot from when you converted the garage?
So sorry.
How long did it take you from when you converted the garage and you started the layout? How long's it taken?
I did it the other way round. I'd already started the layout.
Oh, so how long since you started the layout?
2009.
Blimey. God.
So I had to take quite a lot of two things. I had to take to sort of protect the layout while they were doing the building work, which luckily was okay. I knew a builder and he did it. And but quite recently, I had to replace the burglar alarm system. Which to get access to my burglar alarm system, you have to go underneath the layout. And luckily, the guy that turned up was, let's say, he was thin enough to get round to get underneath and refit the new alarm.
That's good.
Wow.
But no, the problem is otherwise you're limited on the width. You know, an arm's length is very narrow. It's okay if you got end to end, but trying to run it as a round to round layout, it's too small.
Yeah. Yeah. No, excellent. Very impressive, Gary.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to